Well, way back in 1981 in upstate New York, the player of the year there signed his letter of intent to play at BYU, that being Blaine Fowler, and he has not left. It's 32 years since you arrived on campus. Still remember?
Oh, yeah, I remember that day.
Were you nervous, or were you just like, I got to get out there and beat out Steve Young?
Well, I didn't even know about Steve Young at that time. When I was coming, we were saying, hey, is Sean Salisbury coming or not? Because if he's coming, then I don't know if I want to go. And then I decided, hey, I don't care whether Sean's here, Robbie's here, who's here. They've got great quarterbacks. You've got to go out and compete. And Sean ended up signing with USC. I didn't even know who this Robbie Bosco guy was until we were roommates as freshmen and became best friends. But
and then your other roommate was this Kyle Whittingham. It turned out okay for him.
Yeah, he was okay. And we had Kyle Morrell was a guy that roomed with us as well. So those are great times. There wasn't the media surrounding signing day like there is now. And you know, I had committed to BYU about a month before, so they knew that my letter of intent was coming in, and we used to fax them in. I don't know if they still do that or not now, but
I thought pigeons brought them in back when you were
homing. I mean, it's not quite that far back, but
it's so tough to assess a recruiting class.
It is,
because some of these kids that we've talked about today, they'll be playing still in 2019. But what do you think?
Especially for BYU with missions and that. We won't know how good this recruiting class is for 4 years, but you look at it as a whole, they filled some needs that they had, and you talked to Robert about it. They really felt like they needed to shore up that offensive line, and I feel like they accomplished that in this recruiting class. And you know, it's not littered with five-star recruits, but you know, if you look at the All-American teams the last couple years nationally, there's a few 5 stars, a few 4, a few 3, and a few walk-ons, and so it's so hard to project how somebody's going to be 3 or 4 years from now based on what they're in high school.
Well, you look at Van Noy and Hoffman, and look where they are heading into their senior
Cody
years.
was a 2-star recruit that nobody else recruited, really. No big programs recruited, and he's going to leave here the all-time leading receiver in BYU history. Nobody recruited Chad Lewis.
Yeah.
So
walk-on. How about Dennis Pitta, former walk-on?
Yeah, Dennis Pitta. And so there's going to be some of those, but there's also going to be some of these ones that are highly touted that will end up being great players as well.
All right, well, looking at the pool that we have today, who do you think is the top dog in that group?
Well, Braden Kersley is the guy that I think can have a big impact. This is a guy that was highly recruited, and I know it was a little bit of a tense recruiting process because he had committed, and then there was so much interest as he moved on in his high school career. He's agile. He's big at 6'6" and 298 pounds. He's got the athleticism that he could play any position on the offensive line. They could play him at center if they have a need at center. He's also very bright, understands the game. And so I think, you know, before he's done, he should project to be a really good football player. And he's big enough and physical enough as an offensive lineman already that he could contribute early on and not have to, you know, put a bunch of extra weight on him and a bunch of extra muscle.
Let's look at some impact players that might make a difference come Virginia in August.
Yeah, and I think that when you recruit JC players, that those JC players, you recruit them with the idea that they're going to play right away. Otherwise, you don't bring them in. And so in terms of impact players, I really only highlighted one high school guy, and that's Michael Davis. And this is a kid that has tremendous speed, and you have a hard time, even if a guy's young, keeping speed off of the field. So he's a 6'2" wide receiver, and at 6'2", he's run a legitimate 10.600 meters in high school. And this is track time, so this isn't, oh yeah, he runs a 4.40.
Right.
10.600 meters. He'll be one of the fastest guys on the team when he walks on campus. And so he'll be a guy that can stretch defenses. He might be one of the young guys that will see early playing time because you have to have that speed out on the field.
How about Talon Shumway?
Talon Shumway is a guy that I think, after a mission and all that, is going to be one of the most underrated guys in this class. I mean, he is a guy with size. He's an absolute beast at wide receiver. He can jump out of the gym, as we say. His vertical jump is ridiculous. He plays physical. He's a smart kid, and he could be the Cody Hoffman of this class before it's all said and done. I really love his ability to match up with smaller receivers. He's got a great mentality about the way he plays, and he's the kind of guy that if you're rolling out as a quarterback and everybody's covered, you go, you know what? I'll throw it to Talon Shumway because I know that either he's going to catch the football and he's certainly not going to let a DB intercept this thing, and I like my chances of throwing it up to him. And so before it's all said and done, I think he will be a big-time future impact player when he gets back from a mission.
You listen to Bronco Mendenhall, you listen to Robert and I, and now as the team prepares for spring drills, It seems like they will run out to the field to see what's new, almost like Christmas morning. Then they're going to find out the hammer has come. And what do you think will happen over the spring?
Well, I think they have two big focuses in spring ball. They have got to solidify continuity on that offensive line. That was the thing that was missing this last season. They bring some new recruits in, several JC guys that I think can fill roles there. They will really focus on getting the offensive line right. And with both Robert and I and Garrett Tujay on the staff now, they're both old Roger French disciples, where technique is really important, and you play at a high level on the offensive line, and when you dominate on the line of scrimmage, you dominate football games. That'll be priority one. And then they've got to develop quarterbacks. They got young guys that have to get a lot of reps throwing the football. They've got to be comfortable in the passing game by the time they come out of spring ball.
Now, Bronco wouldn't say Taysom would be ready for spring, although Taysom told us Monday
he said he would
be. I'm not sure who wins that battle. I have a feeling that they side on caution because they need him healthy before they rush him back.
Yeah, and I think that Taysom Hill is a guy that has the skill set to be a good throwing quarterback. I hope that he becomes a great guy that reads defenses and throws the football downfield and is athletic enough to make plays when he has to. That's what we hope.